Welcome to the Truth and Dare podcast with Dr. Nandi Sharif, where we shine a light on how embracing everyday vulnerabilities helps us live fuller and more authentic lives. Tune into our podcast to hear how women practice accepting and loving the most vulnerable parts of themselves. And then stay for the pep talks about creating the space to do it yourself. Are you ready to jump into this episode, sis? Yes? All right? Then let's get it. Welcome to the Truth and Dare podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Nandi Sharif, and today we're talking about an important truth that sometimes you gotta fight for your friendships. I am joined today with an amazing guest host. She is a visionary entrepreneur, a world traveler, and a world travel expert who's been to over 110 countries. She's the CEO of Jelani Travel, which is celebrating 10 years in existence. And most importantly, she's my best friend and you can't have her, y'all. Her name is Ashley Company. Welcome, Ashley.
Thank you. So excited.
I'm so excited for you to be here, sis. I feel like this podcast has been many years in the making, specifically this episode. And I'm just excited for us to be in conversation, but also to let people in on the way in which we talk and connect and what best friendship looks like after 20 years.
Yeah, I didn't realize how special that really was until, in my travels and I'm talking to people. If you're not with me, I'm usually bringing you up and they're like, 20 years? How's that even possible? Like, how do you do it? And so people have asked me that. And so I'm excited that you're giving us this platform to kind of let them see inside.
I agree. And I found this quote by someone named O. Henry, and the quote just simply states, "No friendship is an accident." But it's crazy because our friendship actually kind of is an accident. It was back in the day. I'm not going to out us in terms of how old we is, but we were attending Hampton University together, and it was our sophomore year, and we were really, really excited to express interest and then hopefully at that time pledge our beloved sorority. And at that time, we had sent in our applications, had our interviews sort of like crossed our crossed our T's and dotted our I's and crossed our fingers and was praying to God. And then we hadn't heard anything. And I'm talking about crickets, dead silence, y'all. For those of you who are listening, like we had heard nothing. And I was trying to figure out where do I go to figure out if anybody has heard anything? And somebody, I don't even remember who, it must have been an angel girl. Somebody was like, "Oh, you should talk to Ashley Company." And I was like, "Oh, okay. I don't know who that is, but I'm going to go talk to her." And somehow we found each other and decided to meet under the stairs in the student center of our university. Like we were on some undercover Inspector Gadget, Law and Order situation. And we're down there talking about, have you heard anything? Have you heard anything? Trying to compare notes and figure out, if we had made line, which we didn't. But we now can call each other sorority sisters because we did pledge after that. But it was just an amazing experience. And it was an accident because what started as a fact-finding mission ended up with 20 years of friendship. And I think it's one of my most favorite memories of our friendship, but also it is our starting memory. And I'm curious, you probably have a favorite memory too.
Well, I love that you brought up that somebody said something because I still to this day don't know, like, how did I end up under those stairs? But that definitely felt like secure. It's not, in the middle of everything. So it makes sense. And maybe with my military background, I was like, this is the location. I don't know how we got there, but I'm so glad that we did. And I really like that quote because even though it was an accident, I think they really know what they were saying when they said it's really no accident. We were always meant to be friends. And I think that's why our friendship has been able to withstand the test of time in several decades and got several decades to look forward to. So I think truly it really wasn't an accident.
There was another quote that I was reflecting on as well. Mindy Kaling is one of my favorite actresses, and she's an incredible producer and director. And one time she said that real friends are the ones that you can count on, the ones that will go in the forest and find you and bring you home. And while meeting under the stairs is my favorite memory of our friendship, my least favorite memory was the time where we almost lost our friendship. And because this episode is about fighting for your friendships, I want to know in that period of time, what was going on for you? What were your thoughts? What were your feelings in that moment of us almost losing each other?
I think what was happening was not just a me and you thing, it was a life thing. And as we were navigating being well into our 30s, well, kind of at that time, like early to mid 30s, you're thinking there's so many things like coming at you and that you're trying to navigate. And then you have to wonder, like, is this friendship for just a reason or a season or a lifetime? And, moving and just different things happening in our lives. I wasn't sure. It's like, and also we had such a friendship where we really didn't have that many like blowouts or anything. And so I also didn't know how to recover as quickly from feeling like such a big disagreement or feeling like such a big rift in between us. But I think essentially what grounded me is like, not to be too mushy, but I was like, I don't think I can do this thing without you. Like, I don't want to, and it was hard. We were going through some things where I'm not sure how much we're disclosing.
Go ahead. This is a podcast around vulnerability.
Okay, that's fair. But I was just in a place where I didn't feel like I could understand you and where you were. I didn't feel like I could help you. I felt stressed. And I also have my own stresses from my own life, and I'm trying to think and do my developmental work about, should I cut this person out so that I can work on myself and focus on myself, and what should that look like? And one thing I'm glad that I did was I took just time. I didn't try to make a rash decision one way or the other. I was just like, I just need some space. And even though that was hard to ask for, I'm glad that I did it, because that was the period where I realized, like, oh no, I don't care what's happening. We need to figure this out, because I don't just miss my friend. I value my friendship. I like literally need it. It makes me a better person. We just got to figure this out together. I don't think I could have had that sentiment without the space.
And just as context for those who are listening, this was a time period in my life that you all have heard about already, where I lost almost everything. So I was in a partnership, and that partner decided to go a separate way. I was dealing with challenges and difficulty at work and at my job, and the pressures that I was experiencing there too. And then we had other friends that were sort of a part of these conversations who, given what I was going through and the depth of the sadness that Ashley was talking about, she didn't have any sort of cognizance around how to meet me where I was or understand what that deep sort of sadness felt like. Everybody else was like, we're good. Like, we're going to go ahead and cut her out. It's too much. We got all these amazing things going on in our lives, and we don't want to be weighed down. And I think that's why that quote, Ashley, from Mindy Kaling was so powerful, because it talked about how your real friends will go into the forest and bring you out. And I felt like that's exactly what you did. I was deep in the forest. I was in a really bad place where I was questioning who I was, what I was here for, what I was meant to do. And at that time, I'd still thought that my life had fallen apart, not knowing that it actually had fallen together, and all the things that weren't supposed to be there anymore were what was falling away. It felt like massive destruction, but it actually wasn't that. And I remember after you had taken your break, we had gotten on the phone. And I think that this was an absolute sort of critical and crucial moment for our friendship. And you went off. You told me about myself to myself, every real thing, every unsavory way I showed up, all of the curse words, all of the B words, all of the H words. Like, you just let me have it. And what was crazy was I had been so far in my pain that I didn't actually know what it was like for you. I didn't know what the experience was like for you. And so because you took the time and you blessed me with the space to be able to hear it, I could bear witness to your feelings, bear witness to your pain, the things that you were missing in that moment too. And I sobered the hell up. I was like, oh, wait. And in that same call, I shared with you how I felt, what it was like for me, my triggers around abandonment, all that kind of stuff. And you did the exact same thing. You sat and you witnessed me. And we cried and we yelled and we laughed. And then we said, okay, we're going to do this. We don't know how, and we're not going to rush ourselves to figure out how, but we are going to. And in that same break that you took, it gave me time to think really long and hard about what we've been through, and whether or not I still wanted to choose into the friendship. Nowhere in the world was there anybody else like you. Not in the 110 countries that you've been to, or even the ones that you haven't been to yet. There was no one like you. You were actually one of a kind. You're strong and you're loyal and you're kind and you're compassionate. You fight for the underserved. Your love personified, Ashley. And I needed to figure out who I needed to be to stay friends with you. Because if I had a friend who was one of a kind, I couldn't bear that loss. There was no way that I could do life without you. If you're one of a kind, I'm supposed to have you. You are teaching me things. You're showing me things. I'm learning from you. You're here not just for a season or a reason. One of a kind things are forever and they stay for a lifetime. I also realized after a little while, as we were starting to rebuild, that if you were all of those things, I must have a little bit of that in me too.
That I was like, when it's my turn, I want to say, I want to echo everything. That's exactly what that space was giving me. It made me realize like this is too one of a kind. Um, my friendships, I don't have a ton of them. And so they're all really special to me, very limited. That's just how I've just been. And so I knew, I was like, I really can't do this in haste because things just aren't going right. Because this isn't some situation where I was like, I got 10 other friends, I'll be all right. No, I really had to think about this. And I think not only the time really supported me in realizing who you were to me, who you've been in my life, and how we just gotta, something's not right now. We have to figure this out, but we're gonna have to figure this out together. And we have been friends for so long. We have been figuring out a lot of things together for so long. And I had just reached a point where it wasn't working. How I was showing up wasn't getting through to you. You were in a different space. And I didn't know what to do with that. I also didn't like how it made me feel in certain ways, but I also didn't like how it made me feel about how it was showing up with our other mutual friends. And because I don't have that many of them, y'all are all just so very important to me. And I'm like, it was just like this internal and external pain of like, I don't like seeing these other people hurt. I don't like seeing you hurt. I don't like the way I'm feeling. What do I need to do? And I think the the single most important thing outside of taking some time was knowing that just because you don't have the answers doesn't mean you can't try something. And so what I tried was boundaries. And I remember putting in place some boundaries that you were receptive to. And of course there's some awkwardness, right? Like you're putting boundaries on their friendships when we're so close, but what I saw happen over time, I don't know if you noticed it right when it was happening. I know you must have, because you would bring up a boundary that I had in place, and I'm like, what are you even talking about? Nobody's even thinking about that anymore. I don't need that boundary anymore. Like you sound crazy saying it back to me. That's in the past. Like it's because it's not needed. And so I think those were the two biggest things. Taking some time, just taking a pause. Like it's everything doesn't have to be end all be all. Time really can help heal. But what you do with that time, and I really had to get clear on, let me just create some boundaries so that I can really see clearly what the next steps are and
Mm-hmm.
how it feels. And if that feels comfortable, okay, let's maybe go to the next step. And then before you know it, there's really no need for any of that. You just kind of feel like you're back to normal, but even stronger because now you've been through something, you've recognized something. And as painful as that time was, I'm grateful in a lot of ways because I always knew we were best friends, we were close, but like now in my mind, there's literally nothing. there's literally nothing that would get in the way of our friendship. And so I'm grateful to have that level of trust and confidence and just kind of assurance. Like, you don't even need to tell me. I already know we locked in. So
It's so powerful because we're at almost 5 years later and we've had a lot more shifts. I don't even know what country number you were on five years ago, but then we had a pandemic, and then here we are today, and you just went to like 10 in the last month, and there's been a lot of life that's happened since then, Ashley. I mean, you've become this incredibly profound, amazing influencer, and your business has grown, 3 or 4 fold. I mean, like, it's been absolutely bananas. You're so in demand, and at times even hard to reach because you just got so much going on. I don't even know what time zone you're in. And then
right.
you have me, and I moved back to the East Coast, and then I ended up, becoming partnered and having a dog, and now I'm engaged, and my life looks different. I'm not as mobile as I used to be. So these shifts, they don't change. And I'm curious how we're showing up to the party now, right? Like, what is it that we keep bringing forward, that we keep telling ourselves about our friendship, even now, that makes us say why it's worth it, how we're navigating, what we're choosing, and how that flexibility and that adaptability allows us uh, to really be friends no matter who we become. It kind of reminds me, as funny as it sounds, it reminds me of a marriage, right? Like, they talk about the people who have been together for a really long time. You actually are with like several new people over your entire marriage. And it feels like that. It feels like we have become different people. But as you were saying before, we made like a pivotal decision to choose to grow together versus grow apart. So like, how do you feel like we're navigating now? How are we doing? Got check? Like, how are we
Right. Yeah,
navigating
I think we're
this?
doing excellent. And I would liken it to a marriage too, because I even told you one time through tears, because we always, every time we get together we end up crying.
Don't do that this
um
weekend.
yeah, for sure. um but it's like the idea that when we can come together and support one another no matter what's going on, it's like we're literally locked in. But if there's something else that's happening in our lives, with family, relationships, lack thereof, if I'm feeling sad about something, anything, we're just always there for each other. And I know, and I have that trust. It's just like an even deeper level of trust that I think time gives you. So now you can say you're 2 decades in, of course there's already that level of trust, but then to have us go through something where we thought we may no longer be friends after a long period of time, to get through that, that's a different level of trust. But as you grow, I just think, like, I think I was telling you not too long ago, when we have an opportunity to say, you know, I love you and I know you've got my back, and no matter what's going on with me, I'm still going to be there for you. I think those are the types of things that kind of make all the difference. And when it comes to being kind of like a marriage, it's like some of the ways that we've been able to respond to each other, some of the constructive arguments that we've had, in the maturity, the emotional maturity that's come out of disagreements that might have been a much bigger blow up before, was only at a level one. And other times I think about in Austin, I realize like I'm even growing in how I can show up as a better partner, or in a marriage or in a relationship when I do get in one, because of the way that I've learned to communicate better with you, the way that I've learned to be a better friend to you. So it is, in some ways, it's like, hopefully I'm helping you with your relationships in those ways, but I certainly feel I'm being more prepared for when I'm in a relationship in the future.
Yeah. And if there were any major key to come out of this, it would 100% be the vulnerability. Like, that's what happened 5 years ago. When we chose in instead of choosing out, we chose to actually reveal, and all of the anger, all of the rage, all of the sadness, the depression, the upset, the confusion, the a fear, we laid it all on the table. And I think that's actually what's still serving us today. And not that we weren't always truthful, but there was like a in this friendship, but also probably in a lot of our friendships, there was like this sort of like strong Black woman, like, all right, like this is how we're going to show up. This is what it's going to be. You can't talk to me like this. We're not going to do that. You better get up and, get yourself together. And something broke open in that period that exists today where it's like, I'm just going to say all of the things. I think as we close out, I just want us to maybe share for listeners, our sisters who are hearing this podcast, who are going through challenging times with their best friends and trying to figure out what they're going to do and what's up for them in this season. In fact, is that friend there for a reason, a season, or a lifetime? What do we tell them? What do we tell them about daring to fight for their friendships?
The first thing that comes to my mind is sometimes fight just feels like very in your face, confrontational, or I'm just going to physically pull you out of whatever I think you're doing wrong or say my piece. And fight for us, for me, which we've seen was really beneficial, was me saying, I actually need to take space. Don't be scared of that. That is vulnerability because that's a loud silence to take that space, to be able to even have that conversation and then to actually do it and then to re-enter that space with boundaries. All of that is uncomfortable. It's the opposite of what you think you want to do. You'd rather just ignore the problem or act like it doesn't exist or just try to hold on to the good moments when you are laughing. But if you really want to strengthen your relationship, not just get back to where you were, but even get better, take some time, self-reflect, and time for you both to like really talk about, and like you always say, be vulnerable. When you dare to do that harder thing, that's when you get out of your comfort zone and you really get to the most special part. So really, it could be, for your listeners, it could be who knows what they're going through. And you might think it doesn't apply. But if you really break it down to the most simple level and ask yourself, would taking some intentional time, not lazy time, some intentional time to just reset with the intention of getting better, not just taking some time like I'm sick of you, I'm done with you, I'm taking my time. No, with the intention that I know I'm upset right now. I know I'm heated right now. I need time for whatever the issue is because I know I won't always feel this way. I know ultimately, coming from a place of love, I love this person. I want this. I hope this person is in my life for a lifetime, but I'm going to take some time to figure that out. And I think that is really crucial when it comes to fighting for your friendship. Really consider how some intentional time can serve you.
And what I would offer to go alongside that is the mantra that we have in transformation, which is when in doubt, focus out. And I know that in that moment in our friendship, I had a lot of confusing thoughts about myself, about my life. And there was a lot of me focused because I was trying to tend to my pain. And the moment that I began to focus on you and focus on our friendship, focus on how I wanted things to evolve, what I wanted them to look like, the value of the friendship, I began to see your perspective and the things that you needed and how you were in pain. And it allowed me to not only just access some empathy and access some care, but also move from having just tunnel vision to being able to really see around me and finally see the whole picture. And so I want to encourage listeners who you might be in pain in the situation that you find yourself in currently. It might feel really challenging and really difficult. You might be wondering, well, why isn't anybody focused on me? You see this hard thing that happened to me. And also, that's not where your growth is. Your growth is actually seeing beyond your pain, beyond your hurt, getting back to your friendships, getting back to the things that make you who you are and recommitting to them so that you find yourself stronger in the areas where you're currently feeling weak. The vulnerability is actually being seen in that challenging moment and then daring to continue to be seen until you heal. You're not going to heal in isolation. You're going to heal in community.
Yeah.
Now, y'all know you must be special because I shared my best friend with you, Ashley in Company, founder and CEO of Jelani Travel. If you are looking to go anywhere in the world, but especially the continent of Africa, you need to give her a ring. Go to gojelanitravel.com. Celebrate the 10-year anniversary with her by planning yourself a private trip taking your friends and family there and just enjoying life. She's incredible. You can find her on Instagram as well. Ashley and Company _ Y'all can see her influencer life, her travel, everywhere she goes, what she does, and you'll see why I love her so much, just how special she is. And if you let her put the 5-star touch on your trip too, you're gonna know how I upgraded it.
That part.
Facts!
I haven't looked back.
Haven't looked back, okay? Everybody gets a 5-star treatment because I said so, because Ashley said so. I love you so much, sis.
Love you too.
If you enjoyed today's podcast, I invite you to join us and listen to the other podcasts that are a part of this season. We're really excited as the Truth and Dare movement to welcome you and being a part of this family, a part of this sisterhood. And if you're yearning for more real and authentic conversations, subscribe to the podcast. If you want to learn more about the Truth and Dare movement, go to truththandare.com, sign up for my email list, and check out my services and offerings, including live events. We encourage you to listen, we encourage you to comment, and we encourage you to share your stories with us too at hello@truththandare.com. And most importantly, we dare you to dream. Until next time, take care.